Hi, welcome to the Glow Interviews. My name is Katie Onan. I am an author, psychic, motivational speaker and coach. The Glow Interviews is a place where we can meet some amazing and really talented people who are an inspiration and a light in the darkness. I know that through talking with them, we will all be empowered, inspired, and have some hope for a brighter tomorrow. All the contact details for both myself and my featured guest will be in the description box below. So if you'd like to, then feel free to reach out to either of us. Today's guest is George Lizos. He is a Greek pagan priest, lightwork mentor, and amazing author. He has written the books Be the Guru and the #1 Amazon bestseller, Lightworkers Gotta Work. Alongside this, he hosts the podcast Lit Up Lightworker, and runs 2 wonderful Facebook groups, Your Spiritual Toolkit and Elemental Communication. He is truly a beautiful soul, inside and out, and I'm so thankful that he's agreed to have this chat with me today. So hi George, thanks for being here.
Hello Katie, thank you so much for having me. It's so lovely to chat with you.
Thank you. It's really weird to hear your own bio back, you know, it's like...
I know, right? Always gets me. I'm like, oh, that's me.
So we have to ask the big question, the elephant in the room is 2020, of course. It's been unbelievably crazy in so many different ways. So how have you been coping, and have you been able to find some blessings in all of this chaos that we're living in?
You know what? I've definitely was able to find some blessing in the sense that, I mean, from a spiritual perspective, what I think is going on, 2020 is a catalyst year. I mean, we've been talking about the world changing for so long. We've been preparing for it as light workers for thousands of years. I feel like our ancestors have been praying for this moment, not for whatever is going on. I mean, not for the pandemic and all that, but for the change to come and a catalyst to come. So this was the time that I feel we all started like being more conscious about like the darkness within the world, the shadow side of ourselves, and therefore transforming our own underbelly, and at the same time transforming the collective underbelly of the world and allowing all this suppressed fear and all the hurt to come up into the surface so it can be healed, so it can be seen, and so that we can move into the new golden age, this new earth that we've been working on to create collectively as light workers.
I love that, because I do think we've been living in fear for so long, and of course we all know that this change was going to come at some point. You know, if you're on any kind of spirituality, you were aware of this shift. But of course, what happens is the darkness, the old ways just hang on for dear life, right? So you get this like battle almost between light and shades, good and evil. And this is where we're at right now.
Exactly. It's like patriarchy. This patriarchal structure has been going on for thousands of years. And as light workers, we've seen that, and we've been striving to help the divine feminine rise. And in doing so, I feel, and that's something I share in my book, Light Workers Gotta Work, is that we've been afraid of masculine energy in general and solely focusing on the divine feminine, not realizing that for the divine feminine to truly rise, the divine masculine needs to rise as well. And for this to happen, we have to face the masculine. We have to face that patriarchy. We have to be willing to teach ourselves and the world of how to use masculine energy in a way that supports and helps in the rising of the feminine. And this is essentially the purpose of me writing Light Workers Gotta Work, to help light workers don't just meditate and vibe their light, but work it as well. Use that divine masculine energy to create change in the world.
I love that, because obviously being a woman and very in my divine feminine, I have always had not a problem, but kind of a resistance perhaps to more of a masculine energy. Obviously patriarchy has been so dominant for so long, like you say, but I know that what you resist persists, and by kind of turn your back on it, you're almost giving it your power. You know, the only way to face it is to turn around and say, I'm not afraid of you. Let's try and, you know, find some balance and some common ground here.
Yes, I feel that divine masculine and divine feminine are two sides of the same coin. For one to rise, the other one has to rise as well. And I realized this the hard way, because a few years ago, and that's the premise of Light Workers Gotta Work, this is where it all starts, where I was working a full-time job in London while working on my own business part-time. And I ended up like exhausting myself, and burning myself out to the point that I woke up one morning intending to go to work, but my body just gave up on me and wouldn't move. And that's when I realized I had been abusing my masculine energy. I thought I had overcome patriarchy. I was in my feminine, and yet there I was, burnt out in bed, not being able to move. I'm like, what have I done to my body? I thought I had graduated spirituality tick when I published my first book, Be the Guru. And then there I was. The patriarchal structures are so embedded into this world that they work in a subversive way to get to us. So I head on and I went to Glastonbury in the UK for like a week to just relax, to communicate with my spirit guides and see what I had to do. And I heard something that did not make sense, but I had to trust it because it felt true. And that was, George, you have to find the feminine from within the masculine. I'm like,
oh, I like that.
What does that mean? And that's when I realized it's not about stopping working and just solely focusing on the divine feminine and just like meditating all day long, honoring just the goddess and doing all that. But I had to, in a practical way, start bringing masculine activities and feminine activities into my day-to-day life in a conscious and healthy way. Whereas I'm not hustling and I'm not overworking myself to exhaustion, but instead I'm spending the time to meditate, to connect to my guides, to receive the guidance, and then use that inspired guidance to take inspired action step towards my life purpose, and therefore finding that balance. That's why in Lightworkers Gotta Work, I talk about the distinction between ego work and light work. Ego work is when you're acting from an imbalanced state where you're just working and abusing your masculine energy, which is what patriarchy teaches us to do. And then light work is when you take the time to, first of all, awaken your feminine side, receive the guidance, and then express that in action. And therefore striking this perfect balance between the masculine and the feminine.
I love that. I love that. So, of course, your main focus in everything you do is to support light workers.
Yes.
You know, you do that in many different ways. So, for those people who may not know, who may have not come across this term before, how would you define a light worker? What is it that makes them different from other people, perhaps?
So, I like the definition that Rebecca Campbell used to define light workers in her book, Light is the New Black, which is a light worker is anyone who wholeheartedly wants to make the world a better place by being in the world. And this is how I define a light worker as well. However, in Lightworkers Gotta Work, I coined the new term Ascension Lightworker to talk about a special breed of lightworkers that are spiritually focused. These are lightworkers, probably listening to this interview right now, who have been incarnating lifetime after lifetime with the aim of using their spiritual skills and talents and abilities to help in the ascension of the world. That's why they're called Ascension Lightworkers. And by ascension, I mean they want to make the world a brighter, a better place by using their spiritual skills. And all the work I do focuses specifically on Ascension Lightworkers, essentially. And even the book Lightworkers Gotta Work, I say this in the beginning, this is for spiritually minded lightworkers because this is what I feel more passionate about helping. So essentially, this is who lightworkers are.
Love that. I love that. I've never crossed that term before, Ascension Lightworker. I love that. Yeah. Because many of us, I do feel that are here to help and to heal and to bring the light. I do feel a lot of us have done it over and over and over again in different guises. And of course, with the world being what it is, there's more of us here than ever before. I do feel that. I feel like so many people being born have come here as a light worker, right?
Yeah, and now is the time. Now is the time for us to work the freaking light. Like the quote, like the main slogan of the book is, "The world won't change sitting in meditation pillows all day long." That's why I'm very passionate about helping light workers define their life purpose. Because when I usually ask light workers, what is your life purpose? I hear generic things such as, oh, my life purpose is to help people heal, or is to help make the world a better place. And I'm like, great, this is our collective light worker purpose. In Lightworkers Gotta Work, I define the 4 purposes of light workers. And I'm gonna mention them really quickly. So it's the light worker purpose, which is our collective purpose to help in the ascension of the planet. It's the soul realm purpose. Soul realms are these different groups of souls that have collective purposes drawing from the main light worker purpose. Then it's our soul purpose, which is a purpose that our soul has over a series of lifetimes. And then it is our life purpose, which is one step towards fulfilling our soul purpose. And therefore, it's a very specific lifetime with a very specific goal that we're here to fulfill. And in the book, I guide readers to a step-by-step formula to defining their life purpose in a specific 2-paragraph definition. So to answer your question, this is the time for us to get specific and get to work, rather than just know we're here to create change but not do something about it.
Exactly, because, you know, love and light and prayers and blessings and meditation, all this stuff is really important, but unless you actually get off your backside and do something about it, you know, that's how you make positive change. It's being proactive. It's
that stuff is essential, not just important, because unless we do that stuff, the meditation, the blessings and all that, then the guidance we're receiving is misguided. It comes from the ego. So it's not like taking action is more important than like meditating. Both are needed equally.
Yeah, exactly. Balance is everything. It really is. Yeah. I'm a Libra. I know that one wholeheartedly. So how did you get started in all of this? It seems like, you know, your path has always felt, for me, very kind of directed. It probably doesn't feel that way to you, but it feels, watching you, it felt very like you've known your purpose for quite a while. So you always felt that way. And how did you kind of get started in all of this?
I wish you were true, but it was not that easy. So essentially, it all started here in Cyprus, actually, where I'm based right now, when I was 15 years old. And I went through this spiritual awakening. I was depressed. I was suicidal. Just before I did it, I had this realization, you know what? I was suicidal because I couldn't accept the fact that I was different, that I was gay, because I grew up in this very stereotypical Christian society that looked down on it. And I made this realization, you know what? I'm going to learn to love and accept myself no matter what people think. And so essentially, that's how I started on my path. I started using spirituality to love myself, essentially, not to do it like for a living, but just to heal and just learn to forgive my bullies, forgive myself, and empower myself. And it wasn't until I was 22 that I realized I was meant to do this for a living. This was my life purpose. Right. My entire life, I had thought my life purpose was to become a musical theater actor. So that was my focus. I was doing singing classes and dancing classes and acting classes. I was ready to audition for musical theater school when I was 22. Right. While I was walking back from university, and I had this epiphany, why would you become a musical theater actor? It's suddenly, from one moment to the next, I had this epiphany that this is not who I'm meant to do. I am meant to become a spiritual teacher. And this is a lesson I talk about in Lightworkers Gotta Work, in that our life purpose is revealed to us to the degree to which we're ready to accept it. And up until I was 22, I was not ready to accept that my life purpose was to become a spiritual teacher, because of all the propaganda and the indoctrination from the system that anything outside of Christianity is the work of the devil. That was the programming that I had to let go of. And as soon as I released all those beliefs and I was ready for my life purpose to be revealed to me, it became revealed to me. Not to say that musical theater was not part of my life purpose. It was still part of my life purpose, in the sense that I was using that to empower others. It just shifted and expanded into doing so through spiritual work. So this is something that if you're watching right now and you're like, I don't know what my life purpose is, see what makes you happy. See what you're drawn to do. It's part of your life purpose. And if you follow that while doing the inner work to release all the obstacles and your limiting beliefs, more and more of your life purpose will start being revealed to you.
That is so true. I'm listening to you and I'm like, yes, that's exactly how I feel. And I tell people that, you know, having done psychic readings for 10 years, apart from love questions, one of the big questions is, what's my purpose? Why am I here? And that's why I always say is follow your passion. Those things are not random. They're not coincidental. If you follow them, they will lead you to where you're supposed to be, right?
Yes. Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss. And that's exactly what that means.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the other thing is that nothing is wasted. So I used to be a high school teacher and it wasn't for me, but I realize now that learning to teach is now part of my purpose, but a different way. So nothing is ever wasted.
100%. Everything you learn and that you do, and it comes from a space of passion, and you're following your bliss, has something to do to help you move forward with your life purpose. I have a degree in geography and then a master's degree in business management, and I was also into musical theater. I use all of that. I use my geography degree when I'm teaching about the elementals now, because I know the earth from a scientific perspective as well. I use my business degree to run my spiritual business, and I use my musical theater skills to essentially perform when I teach on stage, when I teach online, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. But it takes a while to get there. I think
Yeah.
hindsight, you have to step back and go, oh, now you can see the dots. It's like a dot to dot picture, It's great.
Exactly.
It's great.
Yeah.
So what do you wish that you knew when you started out that you know now? That's a good question.
Very
So
good
22,
question.
when you started this spiritual journey and spiritual teaching, what do you wish that you'd known then that you know now?
I wish I'd known that what made me different was my gift to the world. Because for so long in my life, I had judged myself and compared myself to other people as less than. And for me, it was what I call the small island syndrome, in the sense like, oh, who am I from a small island, or someone listening right now from a small town, like English is not even my first language. Who am I to make it? Like all these limiting beliefs that we let ourselves and society tell about us are basically our biggest gifts that will allow us to progress. Now, looking back, I can see how my accent is what makes me different in the industry. I can see that living on an island and taking pictures on the beach every single day helps me communicate with the elementals and teach about that. So it's just a matter of shifting our perspective about those limiting beliefs and realizing that what makes us different is basically our gift to the world, literally our gift to the world, and our clue to finding and following our life purpose.
I love that. So kind of a bit of a different question, but I think talking about the more negative aspects is as important as the positive. So it may be a difficult one for you to answer, but what do you feel has been your biggest failure and what did it teach you?
Ooh, okay. That's a very important question. What I think was my biggest failure, I don't think of failures as failures. I think of failure as redirection, because a failure is your universe redirecting you to something else. I can't think of something specific because of the way I perceive failure. I don't see it as failure. And that's like a mindset shift that everyone would benefit from, in the sense that whenever something happens that you didn't expect to happen or you didn't intend for it to happen, that was your guides, your angels, the universe directing you into something else, letting you know what, this may not be the right path for you. Let's move on into something else.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, it can be hard to see that when you're in it.
Yeah.
Because we get emotionally
Definitely.
attached to things, right? And we have assumptions, and our ego's in control. So it's to let go of that ego control, so you can see that actually it's happening for a reason, and you always are where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, let me give you an example that just came to mind. Actually, when I was 19, I auditioned for X Factor Greece. So that's when I was like, okay, I'm gonna become. This is my pop star moment. So I auditioned for X Factor Greece, and the result was not positive, in the sense. Well, I went there. I was classically trained, so I went there singing like classical songs, opera, and this was not what they were going for. So they told me they wanted to like show off on camera. They were like, no. You have the most disgusting voice I've ever heard. Like that's what one of the like judges said. I'm like, who says that to a 19-year-old? Like, even if you want to show off for camera and then like get ratings, just don't say this. So when I realized what was going on, I just like shut down and I stopped giving them what they wanted. And then I will admit, it like got me down psychologically. Like it got me like second guessing myself. But thinking back to it right now from like retrospectively, I'm like, that was the universe telling me, what are you doing? This is not your life purpose. You're not meant to be on stage and sing. You're meant to be on stage and teach.
Yeah, absolutely. Although if you ever want to teach in a singing kind of way, maybe you could marry the two together, right?
Oh, I do totally right now. Like I sing on Instagram all the time and I record them and like share them on Facebook. I'm like owning it.
Love it. I love that. By the way, congratulations on getting the #1 best-selling book on Amazon. That's awesome.
Oh my God. I am so grateful.
How can you even like process that?
I did not expect it, because I did not know how many people pre-ordered the book until the day it came out. I'm like, okay, I'm expecting like so many copies, and then I see the number of like copies, and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm just so grateful for all the people who trusted in this journey, who trusted in what Lightworkers Gotta Work is all about, and invested essentially in their growth and in the book.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, as a writer myself, like every time someone, it doesn't matter if you sell like 10 or if you sell like 1,000,000, every bookseller is like, oh, thank you.
Yes.
Because
Katie,
writing
also,
a book is so personal, right?
yes, I don't know if you feel the same way, but it also terrified me. I'm like, oh my God. I was like, because this book, it was mine. Like for like 3 years, this was my heart, my soul. And then suddenly
right?
it wasn't. Suddenly it belonged to like people. And I'm like, uh-oh.
I liken it to like, you know, being a parent, to having children and then letting them go off to school suddenly around to the world. And you're like, my baby, be nice to my child.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt.
Bless you, bless you. But I say it's just, you're doing so well, and I know, as I like working myself, you know, the work that you do is such a blessing. So honestly, I'll just take a moment to thank you for that, because it's wonderful, really.
Likewise, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. So who inspires you, or what inspires you to be your best self?
Who inspires me to be my best self? Oh, actually, it's Louise Hay. Because having worked for Hay House for like 3 years, the reason, first of all, I went to work for Hay House was because right back when I was 15 years old and I was ready to take my life, and I decided, you know what, there must be a different way. One of the first books that came into my life was You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. So that was like a significant book in my growth. And all the books that I've read through the years, many of which have been from like Hay House authors, have helped empower myself. So when I was 24 and I was just graduated, wanting to get my first job, it was an honor to like go to Hay House and work for Hay House, because in the back of my head was, you know what, I'll be able to give back to these women and to all these authors who helped me grow throughout my life. And I got to do that, and I got to witness the power that Louise Hay's work has done into the world. And coincidentally, the year she passed away was the year I left. So it's like I had fulfilled like a purpose in those 3 years, and then I was able to move on.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow, goodness me. So, sorry, I'm kind of processing that. My brain's like, wow. So what advice would you have for people right now? Because we're still living through stuff, you know, 2020, you know, it's still difficult for many, many people. And so do you have any words of wisdom or any advice that you could give to anybody watching this?
Yes, well, my kind of advice has to do with following our life purpose, because you know what, just because we're going through a pandemic doesn't mean we stop living. Because because during times of crisis, there are always people who thrive. There are always businesses that thrive. So it's just a matter of not seeing this as something bad, seeing this as an opportunity to grow, as an opportunity to escalate our life purpose. So my biggest piece of advice would be, take one step towards your life purpose every single day. No matter what is going in the world. You can send an email, you can write a paragraph, you can write a YouTube script, you can do a podcast, you can do anything you want, you can make a contact with someone, you can send a text, something that gets you closer to your life purpose. Really, all we need to do to follow our life purpose is take those little steps that eventually grow in momentum and lead us to following and fulfilling our purpose.
Exactly. And people don't get that, because we live in a very quick fix, instant gratification world, don't we? So people want it, and they want it like yesterday. And it's like, your life purpose is for the rest of your life. If it takes you 6 months, if it takes you 12 months, in the big scale of your life, does it really matter if it doesn't happen exactly when you want it to, you know?
Yeah, it takes 10 years to become an overnight success.
Exactly. It's that iceberg thing that you only see the tip of the iceberg, which is the success, but you don't see everything that's gone underneath to get to that point, right?
Exactly. Just keep on going. Never give up. Do you know how many times I wanted to give up? And I tried it, because like something didn't go as I planned it. And I was like, I'm giving up. I'm just going to get a normal muggle job and just be happy. And I'm like, it made me feel dead inside. I'm like, it's so worth just trying and trying and trying, and not giving up, rather than just giving up and just accepting mediocrity.
Exactly. But that's why it's important to do something that you love. So that even in those dark moments where it's hard or it's not working, you still show up because you love what you do.
Because it is who you are.
Exactly. Exactly. So last question, my darling. This podcast is called The Glow Interviews, because I wanted to bring some light to people's lives in these dark times. So what lights you up? What brings you joy? What makes you happy?
You know what? And this is, again, another chapter from the book. I like cosmic light bathing. Now, the Have a chapter are all about bathing under the different lights of the cosmos. Right. Moonlight, starlight, and sunlight. Mm-hmm. It's the best way to refuel both our masculine and our feminine energy and to strike the balance, because starlight helps awaken the feminine side of us in our aura, in our energy field. Mm-hmm. The sunlight helps awaken our masculine energy, and then moonlight strikes a balance between feminine and masculine energy, so it brings them all together. So spending time out in nature and just bathing under the sky, essentially, this is something that brings me immense joy currently.
I love that. I love that. I remember reading about that. You mentioned Rebecca Campbell, and she spoke about it in her book about light sourcing. And yes. I tried it, and it was like, you feel like you're being filled up with golden liquid, like water, from the bottom up. And I was like, I didn't need to have any coffee. It was very strange.
It's so powerful. Yeah. And really even if, powerful. Because I know for people who live in like cloudy countries, I used to live in London, so I know they don't get access to the sun on a daily basis. You can meditate feeling like you're sunbathing and still get the spiritual qualities of the sun, and therefore awaken your masculine energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Luckily it's sunny today, so you've inspired me to get out and, you know.
Perfect.
Well, like, guys, go and check George out. Go and check out his books, his podcast. Like I say, he's got 2 amazing Facebook groups, which he just shows up and gives so much guidance, information, support. So go and check them out. All the links will be underneath here. So please go and connect with him. He's a beautiful, beautiful soul. And if he can help you, he will go above and beyond to try and help you. So George, thank you, my darling. It's been a fantastic chat. I've really enjoyed it. And I just thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. And I so appreciate you.
I bless you, darling. And to everyone watching this, lots of love. Take care. And I'll speak to you very soon.